Greetings. There is rape and there's getting away with rape. Two different things. Rape, filming the rape and selling the videos, selling the victim services to rich clients, filming the rich clients and then blackmailing them later. Right? Raping, filming, selling the victims many times over many years. That's the crime. But that's only half the story. Crime, getting away with crime. How do they get away with all this? By absolutely confusing the victims, confusing the cops, and confusing the public. Okay, that is what all these satanic rituals are all about. Getting away with ongoing, very profitable rape. So please keep that in mind as you watch this video of my direct eyewitness testimony of the unbelievable sexualized violence that myself and others endured. Please. And the next thing is, oh God, the boy being strangled. This is another memory that I can't place it anywhere. It was so horrific that if it was part of a ritual, I didn't remember it in the same context with all the rituals. I just remember it as a separate event. But this happened in a dark basement, either the school, church, or rectory, I'm assuming. I think most of these happened in the basement of the school because that way they didn't have to take us anywhere. But anyway, so there was a young boy my own age and size facing me. An adult was standing behind him also facing me. I cannot remember the adult's face because it was in a shadow, I'm assuming on purpose, so I could never identify him. He picked the boy up by his throat and strangled him to death in front of me. I do remember the boy's face. I will never forget him. He had dark skin, but his face had white features. I did not know any black folks when I was a kid except our housekeeper, so I remember noticing that the inside of his hands were lighter colored than the rest of him, just like hers. But he had a thin nose and lips, which was something very odd to me as I had seen other black folks on TV and such, but had never seen one with a white face. So I know now that he was either mixed race or maybe a dark Hispanic. But I noticed those things all in the first couple seconds until I realized what was happening in front of me. I mostly remember his legs kicking. I remember glancing up at his face after he had been lifted up by his throat, but he looked so distorted and terrified that I looked back down immediately. And I must have passed out then because that is all I remember. I don't remember when he stopped kicking or what happened before or after, and I don't remember any voices or words. I assume this was a demonstration of what happens to little boys who tell. Was another way to terrify me. And this last thing. And this last thing here, this was by far the worst and last flashback. Again, it was in the dark basement, I think the same one. A pregnant nun was laying on a cot. I assume she was a nun. She was not strapped down, but she did not try to escape. There were two adult men in the room. One had his back to me the entire time, and the other was one of the priests who had control of me. He was the little short guy. The one who had his back to me cut open the pregnant nun and took out the baby. She wailed a kind of sound I cannot describe, but she never tried to get up and run away. That is how much power they had over her. The man doing the cesarean with no anesthesia was partially blocking my view of what he was doing, but I know what happened because then he pulled out the baby and the cord was still attached. They put a blanket under the baby and calmed it down, and then the priest made me put my fingers under the baby's fingers and told me to tremble your finger like this, to just kind of tremble my finger to induce the baby to latch on. The baby finally did latch onto my finger, and after about 2 seconds of that, after I made the emotional connection with that baby, Then the knife came down and cut that baby open exactly as had been done to the animals in the previous rituals. The nun watched and wailed horrifically. It's beyond words. The sadness that came over me then is beyond description. I felt it rising in me as soon as the baby grasped my finger, because I had made a connection with that baby, the same as any normal person would when a new baby grasps its tiny hand around their finger. But I knew what was coming. I knew it had to be inevitable in this situation. I had graduated from animals to humans. As the baby was cut open, as the nun wailed horrifically, as I felt a crushing sadness that cannot be described in words, the priest stood over the baby as he cut it open, acting like he was breathing in the baby's spirit, like he was drinking in a fine wine, like he was getting his fix, satisfying some kind of addiction, and so on. I don't remember what happened before or after this. This is the entire flashback. So that's the end of all the stories. I have a lot of context I'd like to add to this in future videos, and I hope you'll watch those too, because without understanding the context, this stuff seems so unbelievable that you may just blow it off. Everything I said here happened exactly as I said it happened. There's a lot of other details that I could have added, but I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't want to write or say anything that I'm not 100% sure of. So that's what you get. Well, that's it.